Thank you so much for joining us as a part of our CREX annual Black History Month on the shoulder of Changemakers. And you have, been identified as a change maker, for your work throughout the community, for your artistry. And so we wanted to make sure that we connected with you to have a conversation, laid back, and just share some of your experiences and challenges, and then you know share some impactful words for our folks out there who might be interested in the same line of work, and or just to know how you do it. And so,
Okay.
without further ado, for sure, Andre, if you could just introduce yourself, let us know, who you are, what you do, where you grew up, where you're from, all those things.
Okay. Well, first off, so I got a cough drop. Thank you for the recognition. I really appreciate that, and it means a lot when people in the community, acknowledge the work that you're doing and show that they notice that you're out here doing something positive. So thank you a lot for that. So I grew up in the Hartford area. I say I'm from Greater Hartford because I've lived in Hartford, Manchester, East Hartford, Vernon. I've been around. I currently reside in East Hartford. Um, I am an artist through and through. I was given my first sketchbook at 7 years old, and the rest is history. I mean, I've been drawing and painting and all that stuff since grade school. So it was meant to be. My father is an artist. He used to do a lot of painting and drawing and stuff when he was younger, and I'm happy to say that he's gotten back into it recently.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I can say he's still an active artist. Um, Even my brother is a barber, but he used to draw and stuff back in the day as well. So it's in me. It's in the family. I have cousins who are artists who are doing their thing on the West Coast, and um, it's just it's great to see that there's so much creativity in my family. Um, and I know exactly where I got it from. So as far as what I do, I'm a painter by trade, but over time I've kind of evolved a bit. So I'm more than a painter. Now I'm a curator. Now I'm a arts advocate. I just started a soft launch for a business where I coach creatives. I'm also an arts consultant. So there's a number of different things that fall under I guess the category of arts professional that I can probably check off the box here.
I think that's interesting that you shared how you would kind of expanded what your
Mhm.
line of work is, and I think that that's something that's important for folks in the industry or passion for the work that they do. That it's just not geared to one. It's not narrow minded, right? Just see how broad can you go
Yeah.
with it, and it sounds like that's something that you're doing. And I know that you're up at UConn, right?
Yeah, UConn Health Center. So I've been there for a year now as their art curator. I manage their collection of almost 3,000 works of art. It's been primarily through donations since 1979. So it's a pretty old collection. And I just welcomed about somewhere between 10 to 15 new donations last year. So, in my first year, already accepting work and stuff. And then I also plan exhibits there as well. And I work at another place called the 224 Eco Space, where I run a fellowship for artists and I also curate their spaces.
And that opportunity came by surprise, or is that something that you kind of were seeking out?
So the 224 came first.
Okay.
I was on this journey. I left corporate America and took the leap, bet on myself, and went to do my own thing. And in the course of that, I was asked to take over this fellowship program, which I was a participant in, by the way, participant. And so as I'm a fellow and I get the program
Right.
handed to me, now I'm like, okay, I'm in a position where I can kind of iron out all the wrinkles in the garment here and smooth out the process, right? So this thing went from me essentially being a pilot candidate for this thing to becoming the person that's in charge of it, refining it, and now having done a second cohort just last year. While I was doing all of that, now mind you, these are part-time gigs, so I still have my own business. I was a teaching artist. I was doing workshops and stuff in schools. I worked for an after school program. I actually worked at one of the correct schools for a little bit. Um, and I was doing different speaking engagements here and there, talking about art and all this stuff, and kind of like I said, refining the fellowship program. And then a friend of mine tells me about this job at UConn, another part-time gig as an art curator, and it's a hospital. And I'm like, well, what is
How
what
does
is a
that come
hospital need an
together?
art curator for,
Right.
right? It doesn't make sense to me, right? But they kept pushing for me to apply for this job, and I'm glad that I did because I've had such a great learning experience in doing that and trying something new and different. Like I've built some great relationships at UConn so far in the past year. And I've been able to really kind of push the connection between art and wellness at the health center. I've done workshops already where I've worked with a life coach to do a workshop on associating color with things that mean something to you, or having a goal setting workshop, things like that, using watercolor, right? So it's a basic painting lesson, but there's something a little more attached to it. Also, I give tours of the collection. I've been learning a lot about the artists in the collection. There are some very prominent names in that art collection at UConn Health.
Okay.
And all of this wouldn't have happened if I didn't apply, right? I wouldn't have been doing all this new stuff and really building my curator skills if I didn't just apply for that job. So I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that my friend pressured me to do it because I feel like I'm a good person for that role, and I've been doing pretty well in it, and it's been a great experience thus far.
Awesome. And within you gaining that additional knowledge on top of everything else, how
Mhm.
does the work that you do intersect with your community work that you're also involved in? And I know you're involved in several initiatives here in Hartford, but just how do they intersect?
So I like to create opportunities for artists wherever I can. So, going back to the fellowship, that's all about Greater Hartford artists. It's an Artists of Color Accelerate Fellowship, which means we take 10 artists of color from the Greater Hartford area and connect them with 10 different arts organizations. So that directly affects the local artist community. It is a benefit to them. They also give business courses and a few other benefits. Then there's work that I've done with the city of Hartford. Like, for instance, I had this big project on Albany Avenue where we put artwork on the bus shelters and the electrical boxes all along the corridor. That was a paid opportunity for 30 artists to design their work and then license it to the city so that they can print it and apply it to these surfaces. So they kept their original work. They can still sell it. They can still make money off it, make prints and all that stuff. Essentially, we just reproduced it and used it for the city to decorate the street. And that is a business opportunity for artists to kind of think about, well, what are things that I can do with my work outside of just selling the physical item? This now opens up a different door for them. So the community work is about getting them to have more of a business mindset about their work, finding different ways to do things around their craft versus just focusing solely on being an artist. Um, that's your core, but you have to branch out a little bit and you have to touch different aspects of the industry that you're in if you're going to be successful. And so that's something that I also like to ensure that the artists in the fellowship also know.
And what you mentioned in that, what's your favorite material? You mentioned some different materials. What's your favorite one to your paint on, and what's your least favorite?
So for me personally, it's acrylic paint. Like hands down, acrylic is my thing. That's what I like to paint in. My least favorite, I would say my least favorite is sculpture because I've never really been all that great at sculpture and I don't have a lot of patience, so I wasn't really trying to be that great at it. Um, painting and drawing, that's really my thing. Like if I can maneuver a paintbrush or maneuver a pencil, like that's where I'm at. That's my wheelhouse. That's what I love.
All right, I hear you. What have been some challenges that you've had to overcome along your journey
Mm.
in in the industry?
Oh, really is expecting sales to happen when you don't know how to sell.
Mm,
That's a huge challenge for a lot of us. Like we have to, we have to learn that this is a business, and we have to learn that there are, certain things you have to do to identify who your customers are and to, understand what your targeted audience will be. Like, what are you saying with your work, and how are you going to connect with them in order to get that sale? And that's a big challenge for a lot of us who start out because we think just because we're good, we're gonna, automatically make all these paint sales and all this stuff, whatever. I've been a great artist for a long time,
right.
but I didn't sell at first. Like for the first few years of my career, I didn't sell not one painter. I had people say, "Oh, I want to buy this," or "I'm interested in this," and I had to learn how to make that sale happen. I had to learn what is it that's going to make somebody go from just liking it to want to get on their wall in their home. That's a big challenge for a lot of emerging artists. And it can be discouraging at times because we don't always get it. We don't get that education in school. If you went to art school, for instance, like a lot of times you're learning how to refine your craft. You're not necessarily learning the business of your craft. And that's a huge gap that we have to fill. The other largest challenge, honestly, is imposter syndrome. When
Ooh,
you've gotten to a point that you've made certain accomplishments and you're in certain rooms and you're doing certain things and you still kind of doubt yourself and question whether or not you belong there because for so long you've been told you probably couldn't do this or this isn't something that's a viable career. And let's be real, art is not a traditional career. A lot of people don't understand what it is to be an artist. They admire the artist and they admire the the resilience, right? The whole starving artist narrative and all of that, and they play into that. But there's a whole business behind all that. There's a whole journey that you go on to become a professional artist. And once you learn to embrace that journey, then you start to realize why you got in those rooms in the first place, because you did the right thing. You did what you were supposed to do. You're consistent. You stuck to it. You believed in yourself. And that's the most important thing. Believing in yourself, knowing that you got something special and doing it.
would you say that relationships are vital within this
Yes.
industry?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And like any other industry, the relationships that you have are extremely important. It doesn't change just because you're expressing all these profound things in your paintings and drawings. Somebody has to want to actually see it, and somebody has to also believe in you and put you or your work on display in places where the right people will see it. And that comes through building relationships with people and getting people to really buy into your vision and to really accept the work that you're doing and want to support it. That support comes through relationships.
So
There's no
important.
no getting around that.
Yeah, I mean, across the fields, it's just without that relationship piece.
Yeah, like you got to
Um,
have mentors, you got to have sponsors, all that.
for sure. What piece of art has been either the most fun or most inspiring to you that you've created so far?
The most fun, wow, I've had a lot of fun pieces. I would say recently the most fun is this mural that I did in Goodwin Park in East Hartford at Gold Star Pool. That was a really fun mural to do because it was the largest piece I ever did by myself. Well, designed by myself, I should say. I had an assistant who worked with me. But it's the largest piece that I ever worked on. And it was like all my idea. It was a huge quote unquote canvas. It was a cinder block wall, whatever. 35 feet wide, 9 feet tall. That's a lot of wall for me. And I
Yes.
figured it out. And I did it in a new medium. I was using spray paint for most of it. I'm a guy who works with brushes. So the whole spray paint thing was like, okay, it was just challenge, right? It was something new for me to do, something that I can get excited about again. And so I love doing that because I was able to figure out some problems like on site, and I had somebody to help me work through it.
Right.
So it was cool.
Because you were on that wall, I'm sure the spray paint versus your paint and the brush is soaked up differently, huh?
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to prep the wall differently, but you do have to be mindful of how the paint will blend, right? So with spray paint, it's a mist, so it's easier to mix, and you can actually spray over different colors and stuff and create blends and all that good stuff. Now, I'm not gonna get too technical on here, but there's just a lot of things that you can do with spray paint that will make it a lot of fun. When you're using a brush, it's a different type of technique. Like the way you control a brush is nothing like how you do can control, right? The way you flip your wrists, the how hard you press it down on the nozzle, using different nozzles and things like that with spray paint was nice to explore. It was a fun experience to do, and that's what I enjoyed most about that process, just learning so much.
That's what it sounds like. You went outside of something that was different and you challenged yourself, and it sounds like it paid off clearly, right? And
Yeah,
now you
you
have
have to challenge yourself.
an amazing piece for sure. And so, in knowing that, knowing what you know now,
Yep.
right? And is there anything that you would do differently than when you first started in the
Ooh.
art industry?
I would have never gotten into corporate America.
Oh,
I would have just stayed. I would have stayed the course and just focused on my art and maybe found my way into some business classes
mhm.
as opposed to going the corporate route. Because when I did that, I lost time.
Okay.
I don't regret my experience in corporate America because I learned a lot of valuable lessons that I can apply right now in the work that I'm currently doing,
I bet.
especially when I'm advising other artists. So it had its value. It has a reason for being in my journey. But had I stuck with being a visual artist and really dug even deeper into that, I would probably be, I don't know, I'd probably be in New York somewhere in all the big name galleries or something like that, because I would have stuck with it. I would have had a larger body of work and I would have been out there making the relationships that I needed in those areas versus focusing on the office and trying to do as much as I possibly can outside of work without like losing my mind. Like it was like working two full-time jobs, and it does take a toll on you when you do that and you work that hard. And it puts you in a certain mindset, like you have to be on a grind all the time. You got to hustle so much. And I had that comfort of the job, but sometimes that comfort can take you away from the thing that is really meant for you. It was like when I left, it was like the floodgates opened and people were waiting for me. I only had a 2 week break after leaving that job. So once
Right.
that 2 weeks was over, like I've been busy ever since. We going on 2 years straight. So
That,
it just shows that, when I made space for the thing that really made me who I am and the thing that I'm most passionate about, like things would happen for me. So if I could turn back the hands of time, I would have been more focused on making space for the thing that I'm most passionate about and finding if I needed to go like into the office job, I probably would have found a job in arts administration a lot earlier than I did.
nice. That's good advice. And you mentioned these past 2 years, there's been some life changes that
Yeah,
has happened, since becoming a husband and a new
yeah,
father, right? And all of this and the work and the community led initiatives, how
right.
have your priorities changed with with everything that you're balancing today?
So first and foremost, family is my priority. Like I gotta make sure that I have enough time to be with my family. I gotta make sure that I'm doing enough projects that make sense for me to do to put food on the table. So I have to be very selective in what I involve myself in and how I involve myself in them, because I have a family to take care of. So, I'll play about my paper. And I can't. I don't have that option because there's a little 1-year-old in my house who needs support. He needs insurance. He needs food. He needs clothes. He's got all these things that he needs from his father. And it's my job to provide that. So that's how my priorities have shifted. I'm focused, like everything that I involve myself in now. It's like, okay, how is this going to make me better take care of my home?
Yeah.
How is this going to put me and my wife in a better situation so that she can continue pursuing her dreams and I can continue pursuing mine, and our son can see us living life with our terms?
And I think that, as someone involved as well, it's definitely finding that balance
Yeah,
of I still want to do what brings me joy and drives my passion,
yeah,
right? And still be involved in the community. However, like you said, family, home comes first. And so it's just like balancing those pieces.
yeah,
And, me being a new father myself, I love asking that question just to hear how folks do it, because
yeah.
everyone always asks me, like, how do you do it? And it's just kind of like, you have to find your stride and definitely keep your family first and know what's important. But
If I'm
everyone
being
has their own
totally,
stride and how they do it.
if
Yeah.
I'm being totally honest, I want to do it all.
Right.
Like, I want to do the free stuff people ask me to do, but unfortunately, I can't. Right? That's just the reality of it. Because this is my job now.
Yeah.
Every gig that I got is part time. And I'm not about to go back into working full time for an organization that I don't fully believe in, nor am I going to work full time in a field that doesn't fit who I am. I've already done that. And my life is so much happier now. So I'm not going to give up my happiness. So I need to take this thing seriously,
Mhm.
treat it like the business that it is, and be realistic about how I divide my time and how I present myself as a resource.
Absolutely. And so, with that, what advice would you give someone who is trying to be an artist up and coming?
Honestly, like the best advice that I can give is to keep going, because consistency is key. If you're not consistent in what you're doing, then it shows that you may not necessarily believe in what you're doing. And if you don't believe in what you're doing, why should anybody else? You have to keep creating. You have to keep doing the thing that you love. Even if you don't have the time to do it full time, or you're not in a position to make this your bread and butter, you have to keep creating. Like, there's no excuse for stopping. Find something to make. Find something to keep those creative juices flowing, and just be true to that part of who you are, because it's always gonna call you. It
Yeah.
always calls you back. And I would just keep it real. Like, I never feel right when I'm not in something creative. I don't feel good. So I have to keep doing these things to make sure I'm straight. you know?
And also, I'm sure the company you keep and the
Yeah,
spaces that will have impact, right?
of course, of course. I surround myself with creatives. Um, I love to see artists doing their thing. I love to be around it. I love to be a part of it. Like, it's a necessity in order for us to thrive as artists, to surround ourselves with other creatives. Going back to what you said about relationships, it's important. It's very important. You have to build relationships with your peers, and you have to build relationships with people who could help you along the way. It's not just about what you can get out of the situation. Your peers are your support system. Those are the people who are in this with you, right?
Yeah.
Those are the folks who are going to give you the encouragement that you need. And those are also the people who will help you with coming up with new ideas. Those are the people that you collaborate with. Those are the people who will be at the top with you. So those relationships are very important too.
Absolutely. And with having relationships, right, at different levels,
Yep.
um, what do you see as a continued need for us to continue to come together to continue to uplift our community and how is it that you see you continuing to be a part of that?
Um, I think I think that we need to continue to find ways to provide resources to artists of color and for artists of color. I think that we need to work together a little bit more. I see a lot of there's a lot of like different movements and stuff in the Hartford area.
Yeah,
It is great to see because people are working together, but I think we can do it even better. As far as my involvement, like I like to be a person who can connect people. Um, so like it's nothing for me to pass on an opportunity to somebody. If I can't make it, then I know a few other artists who might be able to do the thing that I'm being asked to do.
right.
Stuff like that. Just keeping other people in mind and making sure that you have a network of artists who are not just available, but who are able to kind of see the world in that way. Like it's a necessity for us to support one another. It's a necessity for us to ensure that doors are opened, right? So as I move up in my career and I start to get more notoriety and I begin to prosper more, it's my obligation to ensure that there's a path for somebody else to come through.
Absolutely.
Like I have to either leave the door open or leave it unlocked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm here with you on that
Yeah.
100%. If someone was out there and wanted to see some of your work, where are your locations at for where they
So
could see Mr.
the
Andre
best
Rochester's work?
the best place to see my work is on my website, andrerochester.com. Or you can you'll actually be able to see one of my paintings on display soon at the Wadsworth Athenaeum.
Okay.
Uh, there's a show called Styling Identities, and it's about hair as a form of expression, hair and its cultural significance, religious significance. It's just all these different themes focusing around hair. And one of my pieces was selected to be a part of that exhibit. It'll be up for 6 months. So from the month of March all the way through August, it'll be on display at the special exhibits at Wadsworth. Um, I'm currently in a show at Art Space right now called Unart. That's up for the next 2 weeks. The opening reception is actually February 10th. I believe that reception starts at 5. So that's Art Space in downtown. I have another show coming up in New London at the Guard Theater. That will be from April 1st through the end of May. And there's always something coming up. So
Oh,
like that's just what's happening right now for the first half of the year.
first
There's
quarter,
more to
y'all
come.
got
There's more
first
to
quarter
come. Yeah,
happening.
speaking engagements and stuff pop up all the time. I'm always curating something because the jobs that I'm working. So there's always something.
I love the energy um, here in the city with them trying to with folks trying to increase the visibility of art,
Yeah.
with all the murals and really trying to make sure that there's coalitions now and just really trying to support artists. And I think it's amazing because so many things come out of art,
Yeah.
um, culture and visibility and a form of therapy for folks, connectivity. There's so many things that come out of art. And I think for Hartford and us to want to be kind of that hub in between New York and Boston, right? You think about Philadelphia and how they are big into the arts, like all the major cities, it's just something that's so important for the community. And it's glad to know that you're a part of that movement,
Thank you.
right?
The
Sure.
arts is what attracts people to the city. Artists are what make areas cool.
Right.
Unfortunately, they come and gentrified afterward, but that's a whole nother lecture. But the arts is what brings people into the city, whether it's visual arts or performing arts. These are the things that give folks something to do and something to enjoy. Without the arts, you do not have a thriving city at all.
Hear you. And with that, I heard you earlier, you mentioned that you were at a Craig school. So of course I would be remiss if I didn't ask what school you was at.
Oh man, I wish I remember the name of the school. It's been a minute. So it
What
is
town?
East Hartford. East Hartford. over there by American Eagle, like where their building is on
Okay.
River
Yeah, our East
Drive.
Hartford.
What is the name of that school? I was
Yep,
there for
that's
like
our,
2 months.
now it's our oh, okay. Now it's our computer science and engineering middle, but
Okay.
before it was called something else.
Yeah, yeah. So I was over there. There was an after school program run by a guy named Chris Prescott.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, oh, that's what's up. All right. Well, as a fellow, we've collaborated various times in the community, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
I just want to thank you for taking the time out to, just have a conversation about you, your love for the arts, and again being one of this year's CREC change makers. We just want to say thank you for what you do, and continue to thrive and be an inspiration for so many.
Yeah, thank you for the recognition. I really appreciate it. And unfortunately, I got a cold, so I sound all stuffy in the video. But I appreciate being able to do this and share a little bit of my story. And thanks a lot. And there's always more to come. I don't stop.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this virtual experience. Once again, my name is Chris Rodriguez Porter, Managing Director of School Choice, and I'm here with Andre Rochester, and he is recognized as this year's CREC Changemaker. So thanks again, Mr. Andre, and be well.
Thank you. Take care.